This meeting is being held in conformance with the Sunshine Law. Notice of time, date, and place has been furnished to the Bergen Record and the Ridgewood News. Notice has also been posted on the bulletin board of the Administration Building. Would the clerk kindly take the roll?
Mayor Giordano.
Here.
Mr. Brennick.
Here.
Ms. Saracola.
Here.
Mr. Martinello.
Here.
Mr. Raimondo.
Here.
Mr. Ritchie. Mrs. Weber.
Here.
Everyone kindly stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let's have a moment of silence for all Waldeck veterans and all veterans across our country who have served in our country, who have given up the ultimate sacrifice so that we could be free and assemble the way we are tonight. Will the clerk kindly do the prayer?
We thank you for everyone gathered here now. Thank you that you know each of us by name and have caused us to walk with you. We say that we are dependent on you and our trust is in you completely. As we surrender ourselves in adoration, we ask that you would come by your Holy Spirit and inspire our hearts today. Come fill our lives with your love, fill our conversations with your grace and truth, fill this meeting with your presence. We ask this for your glory and praise. Amen.
Amen. Good evening, everyone. And under my report, I'll be very brief. Tonight, we have a lot of policy votes and a lot of ordinances that we're going to be passing. We'll be passing our budget for 2024. Also, as I said at the last meeting, the summer's coming in, good weather's coming in. A lot of events are being brought into our borough by different organizations and clubs. And I ask everybody to kindly support all the clubs and organizations that are hosting events throughout our borough. On Saturday, I will be attending the Northwest Bergen Mayor's meeting, and at the next meeting, I will report back to you on what the mayors had to report on. The main topic of the meeting will be each town's budget and how they fared with the boroughs and how they progressed with their budget. I'll get back to everyone on that when we meet once again. Financial Administrative Committee, Mr. Ritchie.
Thank you, Mayor. Apologize for not being here. We've been traveling. I'll hold my report and comments until the budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Fire and Police Protection Committee, Mr. Brennick.
Well, thanks, Mr. Mayor. In the month of April, we've had 7 calls, 5 heating-related incidents, 1 fire alarm, and one MVA with a pin and extraction, which was successful. We also have 3 young firefighters that just completed their Firefighter 1 course. So I congratulate those 3 individuals. And that's all I have, sir.
Thank you very much. Public Safety Committee, Ms. Saracola.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For the month of March, the top responding crew members in order are Ashley Statuto, Jake Scrow, and Madeline Benitez. The majority of runs occurred on Saturdays, with the second place day being Friday and third being Sunday. 11 of the runs were breathing problems, 7 were falls, and the remainder were mixed between a number of other incidents. There were also 2 mutual aid runs to Allendale in March. Thank you.
Thank you. Recreation and Health Committee, Mr. Martinello.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of announcements tonight. Everyone should have noticed on the town website that the pool registration is now open. Get your registrations in early, so we have a great year ahead of us for the pool. The Baseball Association has their opening day scheduled for April 27th. Going to be a great event. They have a lot of new sponsors this year. I have over 430 kids signed up and 100 volunteers. So great event planned for that day. Waldwick Soccer Football Club is still accepting registrations for their travel soccer program for the fall. You can sign up at warriorsfc.org. And also the Football Association opened up their registration. I hear cheerleading is running fast, so folks should sign up soon to take advantage of registration while they can. And that's it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Public Works Committee, Mr. Raimondo.
Hello, Mr. Mayor. Final report for the DPW as of 4/9/24. Spoke with Marcus Rotowski, got the update from him as the superintendent is on vacation this week, enjoying his time in Jamaica. Lucky for him. They finished all the digs and determined on the proposed streets that are going to be paved. He reiterated that, as well as fixing any storm drains on all those streets. They began prepping the pool for the season. It's been drained, acid washed, and it's getting ready for paint. Spring cleanup in town properties is in progress. They started that this week as well. Several road cuts on Prospect Ave. There was an installed seepage pit not tied into the storm drain sewer line, but it's just a seepage pit, as per a complaint from a resident that there was pooling on East Prospect. Yard waste begins pickup starting today for the water department. Hydrants were flushed in District 3. It's complete. They began flushing District 5 mid-last week. One of the hydrants on Highwood Ave was flushed on Thursday, the 4th. Leak was identified by a resident on the 7th, and the hydrant has been put out of service, and it's continuing to leak. Valves connecting on wells 4 and 5 installed, and at HCA Park, and a valve was replaced over the weekend on Gateway. Valve at Salray and Waldwick scheduled for this coming Saturday. That's all, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. Building and Grounds Committee, Ms. Weber.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Not too much tonight. The electrical charging stations that were installed over in the new parking lot here, we're just waiting for public service to come and do the hookups. The Wolvac renovations continue. The bathroom is underway, should be completed in 3 to 4 weeks. And we're currently comparing some quotes for a new HVAC system over at Wolvac as well. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Borough Administrator, Steve.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll actually hold my comments for other agenda items.
Okay, Borough Clerk, Kelly.
Thank you, Mayor. Tomorrow is the deadline to change your political party affiliation. May 14th is the last day to register to vote in the June primary election. Sample ballots will begin to be mailed on May 22nd, and the deadline to apply for a mail-in ballot by mail for the primary election is May 28th. That is also the deadline for unaffiliated voters to submit their political party affiliation declaration form to Bergen County Commissioner of Registration in order to receive a mail-in ballot for the primary election. That's all for now.
Thank you. Grant Administrator, Matthew.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll just add on what Councilman Martinello said about pool registration. It is currently open. The early registration deadline is May 20th. All registrations can be done online, but if any resident has any issues, always feel free to give us a call or come in person, and we'll be happy to help assist. And that's all, Mayor.
Borough Attorney, Craig.
Thank you, Mayor. Nothing for this. I'll speak on further agenda items.
Are we going into closing now?
No item for closed session tonight.
Okay. Chief Financial Officer, Colleen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Most of my report is based on the tax department side. Just want to remind everybody, mostly anybody that's listening, that the May bill is still due as sent out, which is based on the old reval. It's your August and November payments that are going to be reflective of the new assessments. And what's going to happen is we calculate the full tax bill based on your new assessment. We subtract out what you paid the first 2 quarters, and then that remaining balance is what's going to get split between the August and November bill. So August and November have always been like the, I call it the catch-up quarters, because the budget, doesn't get passed until now, the school budget, the county budget. So we actually, aren't going to get a rate until sometime in June, most likely. Actually, even later than that, because ultimately we're probably going to end up sending out an estimated bill for August. But I've been getting a lot of calls in regard to how everything is going to, pan out with the assessment and the bills, and people seem to, understand it. In a lot of cases, people's, amounts are actually going down, so that they're estimated to go down, I should say. So they're pleasantly surprised. It's another opportunity for me to plug anybody that knows seniors. Make sure they get in here and at least talk to me to see if they qualify for the Senior Freeze program. It's the best program, for them. It takes the base year and freezes it. They still have to pay their taxes, but they get a reimbursement from the state. And then even for the non-seniors, there's the Anchor program, which you really don't have to do anything for. The state's supposed to, take your income tax data and send you an application if you qualify. But, these programs are very important for people to know. And, my staff, myself, we're there to answer questions for people. And just want to remind people that you can pay online now through the borough website. Unfortunately, the post office, the mail turnaround time is horrendous. And we're finding that people aren't happy when they find out that their mail hasn't gotten here as quickly as they had anticipated. So there's always that opportunity to pay online. And that's all I have for today.
Okay, thank you very much. Consent resolutions and resolutions of the governing body.
Be it resolved that the following resolutions herewith listed by consent, having been considered by the governing body of the Borough of Waldeck, are hereby passed and approved. 2024-120, approval of consent. 2024-121, approval of minutes, regular meeting, March 26th. Policy vote A. Gordon McIntyre, President of Superior Trademark, Inc., 45 Zazzetti Street, requests to tie his sump pump into the storm drain at the corner of Zazzetti Street and Bonnet Place prior to Bonnet Place Improvement Project paving. B. VFW Post 1049 and American Legion Post 57 request to hold a Memorial Day Parade and Ceremony on Monday, May 27th from 9:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. as described in their letter dated March 27, 2024. 2024-122, approval of a social affairs permit for Gear Block Brewing Company, LLC, and 2024-123, appointment of the 2024 pool lifeguards, and finally, 2024-124, payment of vouchers.
Do we have a motion and a second to accept? Motion by Mark, second by Katie. Anyone on the question? If not, clerk, take the roll.
I need a motion in a second.
Mark
I'm
and-
sorry, I didn't hear it.
Mark and Katie.
Thanks, sorry.
Right.
Mr. Brennick?
Yes.
Ms. Sericola?
Yes.
Mr. Martinello?
Yes.
Mr. Raimondo?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes.
Mrs. Weber?
Yes.
Okay. Clerk, kindly read ordinance number 2024-15.
This is ordinance number 2024-15, an ordinance continuing the Municipal Open Space, Recreation, Farmland, and Historic Preservation Trust Fund in the amount of $.005 per 100 of assessed value until changed.
Motion and second is in order to pass this ordinance on first reading and that it will be advertised in local legal newspapers as required by law, setting a public hearing 2 weeks from tonight's meeting, soon thereafter as the matter may be reached. Do I have a motion and a second? Motion by Joe, second by Michelle on the question.
So, Mayor, back in 2000, the little history on this before, to give everybody the feel for it. Back in 2003, the borough did a referendum to establish the Open Space Trust Fund. It's a non-binding referendum, but you go out to get the sentiment of the voters, and that's what statewide a lot of the municipalities were doing. It passed obviously overwhelmingly, so you've had an Open Space Trust Fund, which goes to purchasing parkland, Veterans Park, the gazebos, things like that. You've had it on your books since and started collecting it since 2004. What this ordinance does is just reaffirms that to continue the collection of it. It's a half cents per $100 of assessed value, and with this ordinance, it'll continue it in perpetuity.
Anyone else from the council? If not, clerk, take the roll.
Mr. Brennick?
Yes.
Ms. Sericola?
Yes.
Mr. Martinello?
Yes.
Mr. Raimondo?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes.
Mrs. Weber?
Yes.
Clerk, kindly read resolution number 2024-125.
Sure, that's the waiver of the reading in full of the 2024 municipal budget.
Do I have a motion and a second to waive the reading of the full budget? Everyone has a copy of it. It's in the back, or it's on our website for everyone to review. Do I have a motion and a second? Motion by Michelle, second by Andy. Clerk, please take the roll.
Mr. Brennick?
Yes.
Ms. Sericola?
Yes.
Mr. Martinello?
Yes.
Mr. Raimondo?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes.
Mrs. Weber?
Yes.
Okay, and now we're going to have a public hearing for the 2024 municipal budget. Anyone from the council would like to comment on the budget that we will be passing tonight?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to make a few comments, if that's okay.
Sure, go right ahead.
And you can hear me okay, Mayor? Okay. Great. tonight. I just wanted to make a few comments on the budget. Again, I think, as I said, as we introduce this budget, I think this is a budget that I'm very proud of. I'm proud to have worked with everybody on, and I want to thank everyone who was involved for putting it together. I think it's a really good budget. Just to kind of bring this back to ground, if you look at your tax bill, as we always say, the borough accounts for about 20% of your total tax bill. 70% of it roughly comes from the school, 10% comes from the county. So, our contribution to the total tax bill for every resident is about 20%. As we approach the budget this year, we kind of broke it into a few phases. We first kind of evaluated the appropriations and various areas in which we're kind of out of our control for increases. We saw things like group health insurance increase, statutory expenditures like the pension funds that we contribute to, just certain things that are kind of out of our control. And for the most part, the borough did a really good job of keeping costs flat in areas that we did have control on. When we focused on capital budgets, it was fantastic. We had a lot of conversations about not just kind of short-term capital projects that the borough should prioritize, but also thinking 5 to 10 years into the future, what various infrastructure projects and various improvements we'd like to contribute to the town, and starting to think how we can generate new revenue streams throughout the borough to enable those future projects. So this council and the mayor, I think, do a really nice job thinking both short-term and long-term. And within the capital budget this year, I think there's some really fantastic initiatives. The purchase of 197 Wyckoff really, I think, is a testament to this mayor and council's commitment to open space as we talk about redevelopment in parallel. And so I think that is really fantastic. As always, road resurfacing went in. An investment in the HVAC and roofing at the Pistol Range, I think, really kind of ticks two boxes. First, it makes it a much improved environment from a safety perspective. But this infrastructure project could potentially lead to new revenue streams from increased use, et cetera. As we looked at the revenue from taxes, we lost revenue in areas. We gained in small areas as well. And in the end, we used about $34,000 more from our fund balance to kind of balance this budget. And so when we pulled it all together, the net gain in taxes this year is 1%, which is about $47 for the average household in Waldwick. So again, I think that we're committed to trying to keep taxes low, but also be fiscally responsible and not set us up for failure in the future. So again, really proud of this budget, and thank you for the opportunity to speak on it, Mayor.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank Mike for his work and leadership on this process. He did, I think, a great job in his first year at doing this, and thank the staff between Steve and Colleen and Kelly and Tatiana and Matt for all the work they put in, and all the department heads. It was a tough process. We had to cut any kind of fat that there was in the budget, not that there was much before. We're trying to keep it as lean as possible, but still give us the capability to make that capital investments in our infrastructure and open space, as Mike talked about. Was we need to really look at what we can do for the future to find new revenue streams. Otherwise, we, as Mike has said, we can never tax enough to stay ahead. So really looking forward to working with the council and the mayor on what we can do to continue have that open space and look at sensible ways to increase our tax revenue for the town. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to make a couple comments, reiterate some of the things that were mentioned. I want to say thank you. This was my first budget with the borough, so I appreciated the process and all the insight and knowledge. I just want to thank the mayor and council, especially the finance committee, and definitely staff. We have some challenges just with increasing costs, and obviously we need to get a lot of projects done. We have a lot on our plate, but we're excited to get started, and I think we should be pretty proud of this budget and the process, so thank you.
Anyone else? If not, I close the council's comments and open up to the public. Anybody from the public would like to comment on the budget that we just introduced? If not, I close the public's comments, and I ask for a motion and a second to pass this ordinance on second reading, and that the clerk be authorized to advertise it in local legal newspapers as required by law. Motion to second. Motion by Mark, second by Joe. Clerk, take the roll. Mark and Joe. Yes,
So now, okay, that's closed.
right.
So that's it.
Yeah.
Now we move on to resolution 2024-126.
Not yet. No, I'm gonna do it now. Would you read resolution 126? Right.
Yeah, this is the order. So resolution number 2024-126 is a resolution to amend the 2024 municipal budget.
Do I have a motion and a second?
Motion.
Motion by Andy, second by Mark. Anyone have a question?
Good, okay. Roll call.
Move the roll.
Mr. Brennick?
Yes.
Ms. Iacocca?
Yes.
Mr. Marnello?
Yes.
Mr. Raimondo?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes.
Mrs. Weber?
Yes.
Now would you do resolution number 2024-127, the adoption of the municipal budget?
Yes.
Do we have a motion and a second? Motion by Michelle, second by Joe, since they're both here. Anyone have a question? Clerk, please take the roll.
Mr. Brennick?
Yes.
Ms. Iacocca?
Yes.
Mr. Marnello?
Yes.
Mr. Raimondo?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes.
Mrs. Weber?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Bond ordinance, will the clerk kindly read 2024-06?
Sorry. Ordinance number 2024-06, bond ordinance to authorize the making of various public improvements and the acquisition of new, additional, or replacement equipment and machinery, new communication and signal systems equipment, new information technology and telecommunication equipment, and a new automotive vehicle, including original apparatus and equipment in, by, and for the Borough of Waldeck and the County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $2,139,550 to pay the cost thereof, to appropriate federal and state grants, to make a down payment, to authorize the issuance of bonds to finance such appropriation, and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds.
Anyone from the council would like to comment on this ordinance that was just read?
Sure, I'll just comment briefly. This is just the bond ordinance to cover our general capital projects. Includes things like road paving, IT equipment, traffic safety equipment, police equipment, things like that.
Anyone else from the council? I close the council's comments. Anybody from the public would like to comment on this bond ordinance that was just read? If not, I close the public's comments and ask for a motion and a second to pass this ordinance on second reading, and that the clerk be authorized to advertise it in local legal newspapers as required by law. Motion by Katie, second by Michelle. Clerk, please take the roll.
Mr. Brennick?
Yes.
Ms. Iacocca?
Yes.
Mr. Marnello?
Yes.
Mr. Raimondo?
Yes.
Mrs. Weber?
Yes.
Would the clerk kindly read bond ordinance 2024-06?
Ordinance number 2024-07, bond ordinance to authorize the making of various public improvements and the acquisition of new, additional, or replacement equipment and machinery, and a new automotive vehicle, including original apparatus and equipment in, by, and for the water utility of the Borough of Waldeck and the County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $288,500 to pay the cost thereof, to make a down payment, to authorize issuance of bonds to finance such appropriation, and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds.
Anyone from the council would like to comment on this ordinance that was just read?
Thank you, Mayor. Similar to the previous bond ordinance, this just covers capital projects and equipment in the water department only, covers vehicle, new machinery, and general infrastructure projects.
Anyone else? I close the council's comments. Anybody from the public would like to comment on this ordinance that was just read? If not, I close the public's comments and ask for a motion and a second to pass this ordinance on second reading, and that the clerk be authorized to advertise in a local legal newspaper that's required by law. Motion and a second. Motion by Andy, second by Joe. Clerk, please take the roll.
Mr. Brennick?
Yes.
Ms. Serocola?
Yes.
Mr. Martinello?
Yes.
Mr. Ramundo?
Yes.
Mrs. Weber?
Yes.
Okay. Clerk, kindly read ordinance number 2024-09.
Ordinance number 2024-08, an ordinance amending Chapter 48 fees, Section 39-2, Construction Code Uniform of the revised ordinances of the Borough of Waldeck to increase certain fees in this section.
Anyone from the council would like to comment on this ordinance that was just read? What this is doing is that we went through our books and we found out that there were certain fees that were not, they were too low, so what we did was we tried to raise our fees so that they're comparable to every other town, but not making the fees in Waldeck too high. So what we did was we just upped them a little bit. In the building department only. Anyone else from the council? If not, I close the council's comments, and I open up to the public. Anybody from the public would like to comment? If not, I close the public's comments and ask for a motion and a second to pass this ordinance on second reading and that the clerk be authorized to advertise in the local legal newspapers as required by law. Motion and a second. Motion by Andy, second by Michelle. Clerk, take the roll.
Mr. Brennick?
Yes.
Ms. Serocola?
Yes.
Mr. Martinello?
Yes.
Mr. Ramundo?
Yes.
Mrs. Weber?
Yes.
Okay, clerk, kindly read ordinance number 2024-10.
Ordinance number 2024, 9.
Oh, 9.
We're on 9.
Oh, I'm sorry, 9.
9. It's 2024-9. An ordinance amending Chapter 48 fees, Section 42-3.1 dogs late fee of the revised ordinances of the Borough of Waldeck in its entirety to clarify when late fees apply.
Anyone from the council would like to comment on this ordinance? Would you like to take your ordinance?
Sure. This really is just making us charging a late fee a lot fairer to the residents so that they have time to get their dog's rabies shot in the month that it's due and not get a late fee.
Anyone else from the council would like to comment? If not, I close the council's comments. Anybody from the public would like to comment? If not, I close the council's comment and ask for a motion and a second to pass this ordinance on second reading and that the clerk be authorized to advertise in a local legal newspapers as required by law. Second, a motion by Ms. Serocola, second by Mr. by Mr. Martinello. Clerk, take the roll.
Mr. Brennick?
Yes.
Ms. Serocola?
Yes.
Mr. Martinello?
Yes.
Mr. Ramundo?
Yes.
Mrs. Weber?
Yes.
Okay. Clerk, kindly read ordinance number 2024-10.
Ordinance number 2024-10, an ordinance amending Chapter 48 fees, Section 52, Waldwick Junior Police Academy to increase participation fee.
Anyone from the council would like to comment on this ordinance that was just read? But this is the third year in a row that the police department is having a junior academy, just like a week camp for the residents of our borough, young residents. And this year we decided that, the police department has decided to raise the fees because the cost of everything else has went up. So what we're doing is we're just increasing the fees so that so that when they come to this event for the week, there's stuff that they could take home with them that we could afford to give to them. Anyone else? I close the council's comments. Anybody from public would like to comment on this ordinance that was just read? If not, I close the public's comments and ask for a motion and a second to pass this ordinance on second reading and that the clerk be authorized to advertise in local legal newspapers as required by law. Motion and a second. Motion by Andy, second by Mark. Clerk, please take the roll.
Mr. Brennick?
Yes.
Ms. Serocola?
Yes.
Mr. Martinello?
Yes.
Mr. Ramundo?
Yes.
Mrs. Weber?
Yes.
Okay. Clerk, kindly read ordinance number 2024-11.
Ordinance number 2024-11, an ordinance amending Chapter 63 Noise Control, Section 62-2B2, specific prohibitions of the revised ordinances of the Borough of Waldeck to change hours for weeknights and weekends.
Anyone from the council would like to comment on this ordinance that was just read? Yes, sir.
Yeah, what this is doing is just amending certain noise ordinances for sound, like music and stuff like that from parties to bring it more in line with the surrounding areas. We had our existing ordinance was pretty outdated at 9 p.m. This brings it to more reasonable with the towns in the area, going to 10 o'clock during the weeks and 11 p.m. on weeknights and holidays. This doesn't include any kind of lawnmowers and stuff like that. People aren't doing that kind of stuff. It's just talking about certain types of noise and just bringing a little bit more enjoyment to our residents during, especially the summer months coming up.
Thank you. Anyone else? I close the council's comments and open up to the public. Anybody from the public would like to comment?
Teresa Sherman. I am trying to figure out how this ordinance will benefit the majority of residents in town. 9 PM on a weeknight is not unreasonable to ask your neighbors to be quiet, and 10 PM on a weekend is not unreasonable either. Occasionally, neighbors have parties, whatever, you're going to be sympathetic to them and not complain. But to have an ordinance that every day of the week, on weeknights, when people have to get up for work the next day, that people could be loud until 10 PM, in my opinion, does nothing to benefit the people who live in Waldwick. Same on the weekends, 11 PM is late. I might be aging myself, but just to be in line with surrounding towns, it doesn't matter what surrounding towns do. We're Waldwick, and we're our own entity, and I can't see inconveniencing our residents to have loud noise outdoors until these very late hours. I just can't see it benefiting our people. Thank you. And I'd like the council to consider that fact.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public?
With regard to the noise
We
ordinance.
just need your name,
I'm
just for
sorry,
the record.
Rich Holsworth, 20 hours.
No, just your name.
Okay.
Thank you.
With regard to the noise ordinance, it's only at night, and there's no morning hours, or did I miss that?
Morning hours are 7 AM.
7 a.m.
Yeah, that doesn't change.
That didn't change.
So, with that, in our neighborhood, we have an open dog kennel that came to this body and got permission to have their business. Their business was told they can only have dogs outside parking from X time to X time, and I think it was, I want to say 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. I think I'm being fair here. I have these dogs barking at 7 a.m., they're outside, and they are barking till 11 o'clock at night outside. And I agree with the last person that was here. I don't see amending noise ordinances to make them longer at nighttime hours when people have to work is to the benefit of anybody. Notwithstanding the dog kennel, which is obviously not following the rules. Thank you.
This ordinance doesn't address that. That doesn't change. Yeah. Mhm.
In your regards to what you just said, what we could do is we could present your case to the zoning board, because that's the board that, the zoning officer, because that's the board that approved all that. Well, we could try to do it again, if you don't mind. Anyone else? I close the public's comments and ask for a motion and a second to pass this ordinance on second reading, and that the clerk be authorized to advertise in local legal newspapers as required by law. Motion and a second. Mark, second by Joe. Clerk, take the roll.
Mr. Brennick?
Yes.
Ms. Sericola?
Yes.
Mr. Martinello?
Yes.
Mr. Ramondo?
Yes.
Mrs. Weber?
Yes.
Number M.
Ordinance number 2024-12, an ordinance establishing Chapter 48 fees, Section 90 vehicles electric, charging and parking fees of the revised ordinances of the Borough of Waldwick.
Matt?
This ordinance establishes charging ranges for level 3 chargers and level 2 chargers. For level 3 chargers, we have a possible range of 40 cents per kilowatt to 80 cents. The benefit of having it in a range is that the council could change the fee by resolution rather than ordinance. The ordinance also preemptively puts charging ranges for level 2 chargers should the borough ever acquire them in the future. Additionally, for the level 3 chargers, because the goal is to have the vehicles in and out quickly, it sets a penalty if your vehicle is in the parking spot for more than 45 minutes. There is then a quarter charge per minute extra. And following the passage of the ordinance will be the resolution to set the specific charging rates for the level 3 chargers.
Anyone else from the council? If not, I close the council's comments and open up to the public. Anybody from the public would like to comment on this ordinance that was just read? If not, I close the public's comments and ask for a motion and a second to pass this ordinance on second reading and that the clerk be authorized to advertise in local legal newspapers as required by law. Motion by Mark, second by Joe. Clerk, take the roll.
Mr. Burnick?
Yes.
Ms. Serocola?
Yes.
Mr. Martinello?
Yes.
Mr. Raimondo?
Yes.
Mrs. Weber?
Yes.
Clerk, kindly read ordinance number 2024-13.
Nope, now we're going to do resolution number 2024-128, authorizing electric vehicle charging rates.
Okay.
Motion and a second.
Do we have a motion and a second? Motion by Mark, second by Michelle. Anyone on the question? If not, clerk, take the roll.
Mr. Burnick?
Yes.
Ms. Serocola?
Yes.
Mr. Martinello?
Yes.
Mr. Raimondo?
Yes.
Mrs. Weber?
Yes.
Okay, now we'll do ordinance number 2024-13.
Correct. Ordinance number 2024-13, an ordinance amending Chapter 12, Fire Department of the revised ordinances of the Borough of Waldwick to account for recently approved bylaw changes approved by the governing body.
Anyone from the council would like to comment on this ordinance that was just read? What
Oh.
did, yeah, you can do
Okay. What this ordinance does is this incorporates certain changes that the mayor and council approved, that the fire department had requested in certain bylaw changes. Some of those bylaw changes required amendment to the ordinance, and that's what this accomplishes, to be consistent.
Anyone else from the council? I close the council's comments. Anybody from the public would like to comment on this ordinance? If not, I close the public's comments and ask for a motion and a second to pass this ordinance on second reading and that the clerk be authorized to advertise in the local legal newspapers as required by law. Motion by Andy, second by Mark. Clerk, take the roll.
Mr. Burnick?
Yes.
Ms. Serocola?
Yes.
Mr. Martinello?
Yes.
Mr. Raimondo?
Yes.
Mrs. Weber?
Yes.
Clerk, kindly read ordinance number 2024-14.
Ordinance number 2024-14, an ordinance amending Chapter 87 Swimming Pool Municipal, Section 87-4K, Rules and Regulations of the Municipal Pool of the revised ordinances of the Borough of Waldwick to clarify closing hour of the municipal pool.
Anyone from the council would like to comment on this ordinance that was just read? What this is doing is that we, at the end of last season, we polled a lot of the public to ask them what their ideas were about the pool, and we found out that they would like the pool to be opened earlier and closed earlier. So what we did was we changed the hours of the pool, so the pool is opening earlier and closing earlier. And that's all that this is all this is doing. Anyone else? Not, I close the public's comments, and I open up to the public. Anybody from the public would like to comment on this ordinance that was just read? If not, I close the public's comments and ask for a motion and a second to pass this ordinance on second reading and that the clerk be authorized to advertise in the local legal newspapers as required by law. We have a motion by Katie, second by Andy. Clerk, take the roll.
Mr. Burnick?
Yes.
Ms. Serocola?
Yes.
Mr. Martinello?
Yes.
Mr. Raimondo?
Yes.
Mrs. Weber?
Yes.
Okay, ordinance number 2024-16, we're going to be pulling. We're not going to be discussing that tonight?
No,
Am I
we're-
correct?
so
We're
we're-
doing it.
On your agenda, yes.
Yes.
So what I did is, because we're removing 16, 17 now will become 16.
Okay.
Okay, so we are going to do 2024-16,
That
which
is
is on
really
all the
2000.
agendas that the public has.
Right.
And that's ordinance number 2024-16, an ordinance to amend Chapter 32, Animals, to add Article 6, Pet Shops of the revised ordinance of the Borough of Waldwick to prohibit the sale of dogs and cats by retail pet stores in Waldwick.
A motion and a second is in order to move and pass this ordinance on first reading and that it be advertised in local legal newspapers as required by law, setting a public hearing 2 weeks from tonight's meeting at 7:30 p.m. or soon thereafter as the matter may be reached. Do I have a motion and a second? Motion by Katie, second by Michelle. On the question.
Thank you. So, being an animal lover, I'm extremely pleased that we're introducing this ordinance. This ordinance stops the sale of commercially raised puppies, and currently over 140 towns in New Jersey have passed this type of ordinance. This is a bipartisan issue that stops the sale of puppies obtained from puppy mills and hopefully will reduce the animal cruelty associated with the pet store industry. Responsible breeders are not the targets of this ordinance. This ordinance simply seeks to prohibit the retail sale of cats, dogs, and rabbits in pet shops. And I feel this is a win-win legislation for animals, and I'm proud Waldwick is participating. Thank you.
Anyone else? Motion to second, motion by Katie.
Yeah, got it.
You got him?
Mhm.
Clerk, take the roll.
Mr. Brennick?
Yes.
Ms. Saracola?
Yes.
Mr. Martinello?
Yes.
Mr. Raimondo?
Yes.
Mrs. Weber?
Yes.
Okay, any unfinished business from the council? Nope. Any new business from the council? Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to discuss the Environmental Committee. There was a meeting on the 21st of April. There was a meeting on the 21st of April. It was the first joint meeting of the Beautification and Environmental Committee as per the ordinance change. There was good attendance by the Environmental Committee and some members of the Beautification team, and they're looking forward to doing some projects this year. We have a EPS collection this Saturday. Joe Orvitz will be running the drive, and we'll be partnering with Allendale as well. And we're looking at a date in April to do a town-wide cleanup of Borough Park and the park outside of HCA. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone else? Any other new business? Not? Public's comments. Anybody from the public would like to comment, please come to the podium. Just give us your name for our records, please. You don't have to give us your address.
Good evening, Chris Padilla. I'd like to present a petition to you all regarding noise pollution from the PSNAG substation, as well as addressing parking overflow from the veterinarian center on Hopper Ave. I'll read the petition, and this contains 53 residents of the Borough Park neighborhood. Our tranquility is constantly being disrupted by these two major issues. The first is an excessive buzzing noise coming from the Hopper Ave substation. It's really a nonstop piercing noise that has become recently unbearable as a 24/7 audio disturbance that's addressing and disrupting our residential neighborhood. The second issue pertains to overflow parking that's being done by the employees of the Bergen County Veterinarian Center and primarily Alexander Ave, though we have discovered parking on streets nearby. Now, this particular situation is near and dear to me. It provides massive danger for anyone who walks down our street. There's been several near misses with the young families in our neighborhood, especially those that are walking over to the learning experience and enjoying the daycare and the nearby vicinity to it. To address these problems, I'm calling on support and action from the council members, mayor, and department heads to take immediate action. We have had residents of the Borough Park neighborhood have had no success in partnering with PSNG to employ the necessary measures to remove the noise that has started. This began once the transformer exploded a handful of weeks or months ago. They have shared with some neighbors that they intend on helping to reduce the noise, though that noise in the 6 years that I've been in my house on Hopper Ave was non-existent until that transformer exploded and they opted to do a replacement. On the overflow parking matter, I'm looking to ensure residential safety and return our neighborhood on Alexander back to its peaceful drive that it once was, particularly whether we can do it through action as to what erected the Bergen County Veterinarian Center through their variances that allowed them to build that structure, or if necessary, establish residential permit parking within the Borough Park neighborhood so that both the veterinarian as well as the Jog Kennel and the Superdome do not use our local neighborhood as overflow parking. That's my ask of the council. Thank you guys for listening, and I hope that I and others can express our concerns to get these to resolution.
You're Chris, right?
That's me.
You emailed me.
I did.
And I sent it, okay.
Yep, and Steve.
Today, Steve and Kelly, we were talking before the meeting, and what we're going to do is, he'll talk about the PSEG because he's been with them, but what we were talking about with the parking, what we're going to look into is, and we're looking into it fast, to make all the streets there residential parking only. And I think, yeah, permit parking, which would be for residents. And I think that'll help. I think it'll help a lot. We've done it in other streets in the town. And not going to just be like Alexander or the street that goes into Borough Park. It'll be the street all in that area. And that'll probably give a message to the people there that you can't park there.
Very good.
You know, you have quality of life that you're very concerned about. And we have to do something. In regards to PSC&G, Steve will talk about that, but this is not going to, we're going to have to pass ordinances, resolutions, we're going to have to do a lot of legwork to do this, but tonight, we as a council are promising you that we will start it tonight,
Great, thank you, Mayor.
okay? He'll talk to you about the PSC&G. No, he'll talk to you about it.
Okay.
Yeah, just to follow up on PSC&G, I know I've talked to some residents in the area. I talked to you the other day. So just to follow up, PSC&G has notified us, they're aware of the issue. Obviously, I know they've reached out to the residents in the area. They are starting to engineer and design a permanent sound barrier structure there. There is some time issues with that. It's like any other public project. It takes some time. They have to do the whole design process, publicly bid it, award it, and then construction. So we are looking at, several months, most likely, for that solution to actually be in place. So they have invited me to another meeting, a follow-up meeting, on May 2nd, I believe. So I'll see the status of that right now, try and get an update for you all. This afternoon, I actually reached out to the BPU, the Board of Public Utilities, who oversees all public utilities like PSC&G. So I did submit a claim, and I'm waiting to hear back on them. I'm hoping, since they kind of regulate the whole process and that project, that we might be able to help expedite things, but want to make sure that they know that the borough is interested in this, and we want to remedy the situation as quickly as possible.
Do we have clarification as to what that permanent structure would look like? Is it 4 sides and a top? Is it a single, sound emanates from all direction and it reflects from another structures, so.
That I don't know yet. I'm hoping to get that information on the next meeting in May.
Yeah, very good, thank you.
Steve, I'm actually curious on this one, because I went by there when I started hearing about this, and you definitely hear the sound. It's very noticeable. Did PSC&G say what the change was that caused the sound to increase?
So what they told me was, it's a new transformer that replaced one that broke. All they've said was the PPU came in, inspected it, and said it is functioning properly. So the hum isn't a result of it performing, improperly or anything like that. And that's about all the information I was given on that. But obviously there is a noticeable hum. They admittedly said it is louder than even our noise ordinance allows for. So they are looking to reduce it. They're not going to, I don't think they're going to be able to eliminate the sound, but they should reduce it to acceptable levels.
Anyone else?
Again, with regards to the humming, I actually don't hear it in my house, but with what you said was, it puts out this noise and it's normal. The other question to me environmentally is it safe? Is it giving off magnetic resonance or something like that that should be looked at maybe by the EPA or any other agency that deals with that?
Yeah, I'll bring that question up, absolutely.
I've recently moved here, but since it has begun, I've been experiencing terrible migraines that include nausea from it that I didn't have before the transformer blew. I do live directly across the street from it, so I think there might be something to look in more specifically there. And I'd appreciate it if you could. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Laporta, having a problem again with the sewer authority. There were trucks there this morning, 5:45. Okay, as we know, they're not supposed to get there till later than that. Last Saturday, there was 3 tankers there. 5:30 in the morning, we called the police. The trucks just sat there for 45 minutes. I documented every time that it's been there for the past month. who I talked to, who's the sergeant's on call, nobody has even gone down there. They're supposed to call the authority that come up to, and now the smell is starting to come back because of the weather. Called this morning, nobody. What are we going to do? There's something got to be done with the sewer authority, with the smell that this town gets, with the trucking. Now they're coming from Pennsylvania, Connecticut, New York State, and Monday morning when I went to dialysis, there was a Delaware truck there. And Waldock's getting all this waste. And nothing's coming back in finances to this town, and we pay the same probably rate as everybody. Something has to be done. The smell's going to start again.
When you called the police, or you called?
Yes, I do.
And they didn't respond to you at all?
Not at all.
Are we looking into this?
Yeah, well, I'll follow up with
I
police department.
mean, I'm not going to throw anybody under the
No,
bus
no.
of the names I gave, the sergeants, but nobody, you could see it right from our house. It's right there. There's no police car that comes down. I don't know if they call the sewer authority. I'm sure they do. They do document everything at the police department. But when they call down there, they're supposed to send a representative up to get air samples, supposedly. Nobody ever comes on, by the firehouse, by the ambulance, White's Lane, Van Dan. Never see a truck. Never. And it was nasty today.
Do we really reach out to the gentleman, John Danubio, there, and have him come into town hall and so forth?
Mayor, how many times I've been down there and we talked. I know, you know.
We do, we talk.
The town should put a gate there and let them, you know what I'm saying?
I know.
And just,
we should call him, let's call him up and tell him he has to come and talk to us about why at 5:30 this is happening and when it shouldn't be happening.
this morning, Zudema trucks are idling in the shopping center there, 2 of them.
In the market.
It doesn't help the environment in a way.
You're not supposed to idle either.
Mayor.
And what time was that today?
It was 10 to 6, and Mr. Rose can verify that, too.
Okay.
He saw the truck there.
Okay. Well, did we reach out to police first, and then we have to get Danubio in?
You know what else happened the other day? When I called,
Now, you mean here, calling here?
right, no, when I called the police,
Yeah.
not even a minute later, the ambulance got up. That's my bitch, excuse my expression, that I'm calling them. They have more important things to do. God forbid somebody needs the police or the ambulance, the police, than going down to a sewer authority and do an inspection on a truck.
We should reach out to Danubio and just explain to him that the truck was idling, which is against our ordinance, which they're breaking the ordinance. They're out there waiting to get in, which is, they're waiting for time. And they're not supposed to be in the property until a certain time.
Right,
That's why they're waiting, that's why they're sitting in the.
They're idling outside.
And they're
Yeah.
not supposed to idle.
Yeah,
Right,
but
which is a
45 minutes to an hour,
Yeah.
just sitting there. And on weekends, it's supposed to be 8 o'clock and not after 4 during
Right.
the week, and 5 o'clock, they just constantly, and from, all the different states. Okay.
I don't want to get the police, No,
No.
No, but they
let's
have to follow
concentrate
a
on
procedure.
They have to follow.
We have a
the
procedure in place.
Let's find out what took place, and let them tell us what took place, even though we know from you. And then what we'll do is we'll reach out to, tomorrow morning, call Danubio up and ask him, because he's in
And the
charge.
hours that they're allowed. You guys, the council, had the meeting when it was supposed to be nothing before 7.
Right,
Saturday, nothing before 8, nothing after 4.
right.
Is there any restrictions on where these trucks can come from? Their business?
No.
Sometimes,
No, that's not.
Just-
It's just.
sometimes
It
though,
was
depending
only-
on, sometimes a trailer is registered in another state, but the cab is
Yeah, but
from here.
the original plans are strictly Bergen County.
No, I know, but I'm saying is they sometimes use trailers, just, they're borrowing tanker trailers from other places, but the rig that pulls it is registered in New Jersey. The waste can be coming from someplace in New Jersey, even though the trailer is not registered in New Jersey, just so that you're aware
Right.
of that.
My daughter was upstate.
Yeah,
Okay, I followed the trail all the way from Cornwall, New York,
right,
all the way down, took twice. So
Yeah.
that's not Jersey.
Yeah, I mean, the idling is an issue. That's against the law, so.
And the time that they're there.
And the time, yeah, the noise.
Just tell John the Newby's got to come.
Okay, thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening. My name is Christina Deek. I actually came because of the problem with the noise at the PSU substation. I appreciate you looking into that. Figured while I was here, I would also bring to your attention, I'm not sure if the borough is aware, there's significant erosion problems in Borough Park. I don't know
I'm
if
sorry,
that-
what you said?
I'm sorry?
I didn't hear what you said, I'm sorry.
Oh, I guess I'll come closer to this. There's significant erosion problems in Borough Park. Behind the playground, I think probably because a lot of the trees have died out, basically the water just runs right down from the road to the creek. It washes everything away. I'm thinking more long-term. You could see now it's exposed a little bit further towards the pavilion. A lot of the backfill that was used to create the area, you could see broken ceramics, busted up pavement. So the borough might want to look into this long-term just to make sure it's addressed before it becomes a bigger problem.
Is this also near the Lions Club Park? That
That's,
area too?
that's where it is. So the Bellmother Playground, I mean, the roots are very exposed there as well. And you could see the trails after storms where the rain just comes down off the pavement. So I don't know if they want to look into some form of mitigation or planting, just so that we can continue to enjoy the park.
We're going to be working on that park also.
Okay.
It's going to be shut down for a little bit, and it's going to be fenced in also. Because they're redoing the whole park.
Okay.
But it needs to be faceless.
Yes.
So that, while we're doing all that, we'll look into that also.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, I actually brought this up to the administrator a couple weeks ago. We noticed it, that whole stream area going down into the baseball parks and behind there, especially with the extreme amount of rain we've been getting lately, the water coming in there has definitely taken a toll on the banks of those streams there. So we brought it up a couple weeks ago to start looking at.
Thank you.
Yeah,
And
we
then-
have met on site with our engineers. So
You do,
We've kind
excellent.
of done a just informal evaluation. We know there's other hot spots, I guess I'll call them, along that whole area.
There are, yes. And then, I probably should have come a few years ago. My children are older now, but I don't know if it would be possible for the borough to look into doing a traffic study with the lack of sidewalks, families walking to the park entrance because there's vehicles parked right there in the bend. Kids on bikes, families are forced to walk literally in the middle of the road, and it's not a full two-lane road as it is. I don't know if it would be helpful if just in the bend, there was no parking, or if sidewalks were put in on one side. But again, as the main entrance to the park, it might be worth looking into for safety reasons.
Yeah, as we look into the parking issues in that
Yeah.
area, we'll look that up.
I
It's
mean,
kind of the first I've
If
been
you
made
take a
aware
look
of.
any evening or Saturday, you can really see anybody coming to the park. They're really
Yes,
pushing.
since we're looking at the parking issue there, because of the
Yes.
the veterinarian, we could look into that also.
Well, it is residents parking there.
Yeah.
So,
Well, we'll take that in consideration also.
thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Teresa Sherman. I'm wondering what streets are going to be paved this year?
I do have that. If you give me a minute, I could probably pull it up. If not, I could email it to you tomorrow morning.
Okay.
The full list.
Okay. And also, I noticed they're digging up on East Prospect Street. That was just paved last year. Are they going to be repaving the entire road? We had adopted an ordinance that if they dig up a road within a certain amount of time, the company that digs up the road has to repave the road.
So that work was done by us. We are going to have it, or out one of our contractors for a project for that seepage pit. So it will be infrared and try and blend it as much as possible, but they're not going to be repaving the entire street.
Too bad it wasn't done Okay. As far as the sound barriers that you mentioned going up at the PSE&G site, my concern with sound barriers, as a previous person discussed, that the noise will hit the sound barrier and then go elsewhere in town. I truly sympathize with these people dealing with this sound. It would drive me crazy. Can't you find them for this noise, this constant noise that's so disruptive to them, to the people that live there? Can't we find PSE&G for the noise?
So,
I mean, because you
Okay, look,
said they're
but
looking at
they're-
making an improvement.
They're governed by the BPU. So we don't oversee them. They're a public utility that's under the jurisdiction of the BPU. So we can put pressure on the BPU to investigate and hit them with any type of, we'll say sanctions or penalties that they want, but they're really probably governed under the BPU. I don't know if we would really have jurisdiction.
Because it just seemed, you said they're going into the planning stages, and then they'll have to get plans made, and then get plans approved. We're talking a couple years.
it would be more months. It would be this year is the goal, but it's still a significant amount of time.
Yeah. So I think some sort of pressure to speed it up to help these people would be a nice thing to do on our part. I would also like to say that the ambulance corps meets the third Monday of every month. And at our last meeting, they announced that they're making a plan for June 6th to have a Friends and Family CPR class again, which was very informative last year and very helpful in showing an introduction to CPR. And that the ambulance corps was on standby at the PBA egg hunt that was held the day before Easter. And I just wanted to congratulate the PBA on a wonderful Easter egg hunt, Christopher Goodell Easter egg hunt. It was well attended. There were hundreds of little kids there. And they seemed to all have a very nice time. It was nice to see all the young families there. I was up by the press box watching it. It's amazing how quickly everything disappears. And it was nice to see grandparents with their grandchildren there, who my kids used to hunt eggs with when they were little. So it's nice to see the generations coming back. And also back to the ambulance corps, they had 44 calls in the month of March that were answered by 18 members. And they had 24 calls to the Bristol. 24 of the 44 calls were to the Bristol. No, I apologize. 5 calls were to the Bristol. 24 year-to-date to the Bristol.
We have all that.
I know, but it wasn't said, so I said it.
I know that. And could you do me a favor when you speak to your president? Could you have him call me? Because he gives us a report every month, and he leaves out everything that you're telling us. And
No,
think that-
I got it from the same report.
Well, no. I would like him
It's
to.
down the
I would like him
bottom.
to call me, so we have to discuss what's going on, because it's like we're not being told things, and you're telling us things. And it's, no disrespect to you, Terry, but it's like, I think you're undermining her, because she is the charge of the liaison for the ambulance corps. And you're constantly telling us about how many times you go to the Bristol. We've called the Bristol, and we've had a big argument with the Bristol about what you've been reporting to us. And our relationship with the Bristol has been hampered. And that's all I want to say, and I'm not going to go any further with it. But I'd like to have Mr. Papendick give me a call tomorrow morning. He has my
Okay.
cell phone number. If you
All
could give me
of, all of the information I provided tonight was in the email,
I
and...
don't see it here.
Yeah, it was on the report. That was the monthly run report
I don't see
that
it.
Ms. Saracola quoted from.
Yeah, just get the numbers.
It's on page 2 or 3.
I only got 2 pages.
Yeah.
Did you get this? I don't see anything about the bridge.
And the CPR course, the Friends and Family CPR course was discussed at the meeting, and I'm bringing it to you as the Vice President of the Ambulance Corps to inform our residents of this wonderful course. Thank you for your time.
And if you could have him call me tomorrow, I appreciate that very much. Anyone else? If not, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Motion by Andy, second by Mark, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.